thing. Can I put this in?
Hmm.
It's trending. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz brought in one of the Ukrainian Nazis, and they're touring with them, uh, the Ukrainians, through the swing states to generate support for the Democratic ticket. That's like you bring in foreign folk to go campaign for you. What is that?
Well, Your
Some of
Honor,
it's posted on X. So anybody listening, just scan through while you're listening in and you can find it.
Your Honor, how are you?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
hi. One
Yes.
second, King Arthur.
Yes.
I usually write people names down in order. So you're third in
I'm
line.
sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just just it helps me not to be confused. So just sit tight. Did you finish with your opening statement? Judge? You muted yourself.
Yeah, kind of, sort of did.
Okay.
Uh, it was not the opening statement. It was just a topic. It seems to be trending. Why would you bring in Ukrainian leaders, these Nazis, to campaign for you in the swing states? That's what Harris and Waltz are doing, or Imhoff and Waltz are doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're doing a lot. So yeah, you threw that out there. And if anybody want to come up and talk about that or whatever, please do so. So okay, let me get to the speakers. Because Judge, I said Missouri, Lebanon, Diddy, migrants, and whatever else. So I guess Real Queen, the new party, then King Arthur. Go ahead, Real Queen.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me perfectly fine?
Yes.
Okay. I got a new
Amazingly well,
headpiece.
my dear. Clear, loud
Well,
and
thank you,
clear.
Honorable Judge. I appreciate that,
Go
sir.
ahead.
Now, first and foremost, Mrs. Dana, thank you. And thanks to the Honorable Judge Joe Brown for hosting this always fire epic space. Now, to touch on your topics tonight, Dana, I think the topic or the title is perfect. The calm before the storm says it all. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But speaking on, first of all, first and foremost, what was his name out of Missouri? Marcellus
Yes.
Williams. Okay, well, when I look at his mugshot from 1998, he's guilty as charged. Okay, the reports were, or the accusation was, that he broke into a woman's home and repeatedly stabbed and killed her. Now, it's not hard to understand, you guys. We're living in the age of Barabbas over Jesus Christ. You dig? So usually the underclass, the deplorables, the immoral people will cape for the criminals. Now, don't take this personally. I'm just saying. You will cape for the losers, the do nothings, didn't do nothings of the world. The guy was guilty as charged. You look at his mugshot, he did it. And if you're bad enough to do the crime, do the damn time. I say, I don't care. I'm not losing any sleep that he was executed. It's not my problem. But in terms of the Zionist bomb in Lebanon, I just think it's the Zionists being the Zionists, the control freak uh, psychopaths they are, with murder on their freaking minds. This is what they do. Now, shifting gears to Janet Jackson, you said last week, Dana, that a lot of Black folks don't like me and all this kind of stuff. And I said, well, I don't care, because my payoff is people like Janet Jackson, confirming that I've always been right about everything I'm talking about, and her having the courage to stand up to the deep state and their next puppet, Kamala Harris, and tell them, no, she's not freaking Black. So I'll just talk about, oh, well, how can you be against her? She's a Black woman. Well, Janet's a Black woman, isn't she? And they're against her. So you got to make it make sense, guys. Pick your battles, choose wisely who you choose to support. And Kamala is a huge fraud Okay. Her father was a white man, just like her mom before her, legally on paper. They are not black people. So don't get caught up in all the deep state's little, ways of tricking you to believe, like with Oprah coming out on her show with all the A-list celebrities on the show talking about, oh, Kamala is so great. She's such a champion for causes, but she knows nothing but word salad, you know, and her mind is so empty when she's talking up there. So people like Oprah and most deep state celebrities have sold their freaking soul to the highest paying bidder in the deep state, and they expect all Hollywood people to fall in line, but not my girl Janet. She was like, hell no, and not apologizing for it. And so that weird little soy boy claimed to be her spokesperson speaking for her. She shut that nonsense down. She didn't apologize for what she said, and neither do I. So the calm before the storm, ladies and gentlemen, will certainly be when Trump returns to the White House. Now, we've seen 3, almost 4 years that this country has been handed to black people. You've been running this country with the whores of Babylon, the black women, okay, who are running the government because of their sex and their race. You've had 4 years to disprove white supremacy, to show the world that you're better than what they said about you all those years, to make something even of yourselves. But what did you choose to do with all this time, with almost 4 years of power, with the reins of the country and the government in your hands? What have you chosen to do? To prove those who wrote the movie many moons and years ago, many eons ago, called Birth of a Nation, right about you. You've proven all the so-called racists to be right about you because you've shown yourself to be a loser and a wannabe aspiring thug who cut up all across America $2 billion in property damage and murder from can't see sun up to sundown. But the calm before the storm says this. Oh, there's a storm coming. When police becomes militarized again, when Prop 47 is overturned across this great nation of ours, and you finally have to lie in the bed you made and eat the food you cooked, called crime. You've shown your nature to be thugs and criminals all across this nation. And guess what, baby doll? No one's going to believe you anymore. You cried me a river about woes me and racism and all this crap. Because Democrats, your handlers, have opened up the border, not to white supremacists, but, oh, wait for it, black immigrant class. Soon to be first generation black Americans, and they're going to outperform you. And soon you'll become a lousy, feckless, loser minority. A minority within a minority who claims, oh, we're oppressed by the white man.
Well, 1 second,
When
real queen. Is this speech?
every
Wait 1 second.
mom, I'm about to land this plane.
Landed in 10 seconds.
And I'm about to do that. But the world will be watching, and the world does not suffer from your amnesia. So the collective of blacks will be running circles around you, and you'll be the criminals, the whores of Babylon. You've proven yourself to be 4 short years ago. I say, I won't care nothing about you. Read them and weep. Do better. And I said not too long ago on this X Space that Jay-Z and Beyonce baby, they're coming for you. A lot of people will say, "Oh, you're wrong about that, Alicia." Well, what
I
are they
need you to
saying
land. I need
now
you
in
to
the
land.
news? What are they saying now in the news that they're coming for Jay-Z and Beyonce next? And LeBron coming, James, you're next too. And I land my plane there. Hoorah.
Who are you talking to?
Talking to the nation. I'm the people's champion of
You're
America.
talking to
That's how
you're
we do
talking
it.
to all Americans.
Yes, I'm talking to the nation over the airwaves on the X space as we're
Okay.
live.
Thank you.
What do you mean? Who am I talking to?
Who was that speech for? And take the
It's
take
for.
those headsets out because it's an echo. I can't have an echo.
Oh, really? There's an echo?
Yeah.
I don't hear an echo on my end. Must be on
When
your
I'm
end.
talking, I hear myself through your headset.
I don't hear you
volume
echoing.
down on your phone.
No, it must be something you have open.
No,
It's not
nothing
me.
I have open. It's you. It's you.
Are you
Yes, I'm
sure?
sure.
Because it's
I'm
not
sure.
me.
I'm sure.
Oh, well, I don't know what to tell you. It's not
Turn the
me on my
volume down
end.
or just mute up.
It is. It's already turned the volume down. I
All right,
just turned it down. It's not
all
my
right, just
end.
mute up. I need to go to the new party because I don't know.
Lord.
Were you talking
How do
to
we
all
follow up
Americans?
with that,
Were you
Dana?
talking to Black Americans?
Yeah, well, hold on. Let me clarify that real quick. I was talking to all Americans, but primarily Black
Okay.
Americans.
Well, you lost.
Because y'all some hard-headed people. Y'all some hard.
All right. I need you to get off your mic right now, real queen, and take them headsets off because they're not.
Yeah.
The headsets are not working at all. The headsets are not working, and you're way too loud. And I gotta move on to the new party. All right, go ahead.
Oh, I know y'all do this to me. Stop bringing that fire.
Real queen,
And like in
please,
the movie Training Day, they said, "I'm
real
surgical
queen,
with this bitch,
real
Jake."
queen. You have a delay.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the thing. Take the damn headsets that you have on. It's a delay. It's a delay. I'm on YouTube. I can't have that. I don't care if just take the headsets off. They're not working. They're not working. If it's a Bluetooth, take it off. Just take it off and mute up. Just take it off and mute up. All right, go ahead, the new party.
Wow. How do I follow up with that? I mean, it comes a difference between talking to us and talking at us, but she had some good points. So, few things I want to start with. Diddy, another, I guess, accuser came out today. She has Gloria Allred. Allegedly, there's more coming out. But I say this on our podcast, and I'm going to say this tonight. This is a distraction, okay? We are on the brink of World War III, whether we want to admit it or not. What Israel has done to Lebanon this week and what they've done to Gaza is unprecedented. And what's even worse is we cannot criticize them. This is worse, in my opinion, than when Russia invaded Ukraine, because at least before the world was on Ukraine's side and there was able to be criticism. Netanyahu came out and did an address to the Lebanese people, and he basically said, "We are coming in. You need to move and get out of our way. Move and go where?" That's the same thing he told Gaza. They moved, and he continued to bomb the places that he told them that they were safe. Um, Over 100 children and women died this week. I predict it's going to be another thousands. I hope it's not going to be 30,000 like what we've seen in Gaza. We talked about it this week on our show. And all of the Diddy, again, is a distraction to what's going on. We're also now sending our troops. So many of you guys are probably on this call thinking, why is this an American problem? Well, it's an American problem because we are sending troops over there. And I predict that we are going to see World War III in the next 5 to 10 years. So we all need to wake up and we all need to realize what's going on and speak up against this. I know we have no power, so to say. We can't really criticize Israel because unfortunately any criticism is anti-Semitic at this point. And I think that is very wrong. But here we are with censorship at its finest. The other thing that happened that many people may not know, we also talked about, Israel shut down Al Jazeera in the West Bank. That is huge. They are censoring media. And when we dug deep and we found out why, because allegedly a journalist was killed, they were trying to say that Hamas did it, but come to find out it was IDF forces and they don't want that being shown. Again, the judge talks about this a lot, about the parallelism between censorship and Nazi Germany. we are living in these times, guys. I mean, the judge is right more than ever. And what we're seeing in Israel and the Middle East is the beginning of it. So how do we combat this? One, we use our voices on our platforms like we're doing. Unfortunately, there's only so much we can say. And number two, we vote. I know many people are critical of Trump's relationship with Israel. Unfortunately, whether you guys realize it or not, all of our candidates are in the biggest lobbyists or international lobbyists, which is APAC. So there really is no getting around it. However, Trump is going to be good because, unlike Kamala, he is going to try to broker some sort of negotiation for a form of peace to stop this from expanding further. It's now gone from Palestine to Lebanon. Who's next? I don't know. My prediction is going to be Iran, which is their real target. And it's not going to be good for us because we're going to have to be forced to be involved. And lastly, what's going on with the migrants? This is all connected again because the Diddy thing is a distraction, in my opinion. So I'm going to land the plane on that.
May I follow on to what you're saying?
Yes,
right
Judge.
now, Zelensky from Ukraine has been touring Pennsylvania, and there are ammunition factories in Pennsylvania, some very serious ammunition factories, and he's been touring these ammunition factories. He's also been attacking President Trump and Vance. So what in the devil do we have here when we've got somebody campaigning? Since you mentioned Ukraine, why is one of these neo-Nazis who, if I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong about it, but I recall pictures of him in some wife beater shirts some years ago, and he was strewn with swastikas and other Nazi symbology. And my foreign sources tell me that there is a resurgent Nazism in Ukraine, which is one of the reasons why Russia is there. So we've got this neo-Nazi touring American ammunition plants, touring Pennsylvania and other swing states, and speaking in favor of a certain candidate slate. What is that? And then, of course, we can throw in, I think it was tongue in cheek, but Putin endorsed Kamala Harris. So what's that say about somebody that's a nominal enemy coming out and supporting you? Same thing all around. We need to look at these things. They are a bit disturbing. Now, I pass the mic.
So Danielle, let me say this real quick.
No, real queen, I need for you to just mute up. You said a lot, and I gotta get to King Arthur. If nobody else requests to come up, I will swing back to you. First of all, you made a comment that he should have been executed. Well, you know, he said he was innocent. There are evidence leading to that he was innocent. Whether he was innocent or not, when we're talking about the death penalty and the history of the death penalty here, they get it wrong more than they get it right. And even if it's proven that, well, majority of the people that were executed in death penalties were actually guilty, does it still make it right? One, and two, if you have a large number of people who you executed that were actually innocent, it could have been 5, even though there are way more than 5. That's a problem. And I did put a poll in the YouTube chat. Do you support the death penalty? And right about now, 58% says yes, 43% says no. But Marcellus Williams died tonight, and the governor could have stepped in, and I believe his issue is stay. He did not. They let it go through. He claimed his innocence. The lawyers, even the prosecutors, said they messed up, and they went on the record admitting to that. The Supreme Court denied his appeal. So,
but I don't know if they messed up because all I heard was the family of the victim he killed didn't want him killed.
they what?
What happened?
The family of the victim that he killed didn't want him to be executed.
Did not or did?
That's what I heard.
Not or did?
Did not.
Well,
did not. Forget about the family. It's a tragic. But the fact is that if he's saying he didn't do it, And the prosecutors, under oath, came back and admitted that their tactics or whatever they were doing during the trial was flawed. He should have never been executed.
Mhm.
So if
Well, let me give you the people's champion
no, I don't
perspective,
want your
Dana.
perspective. Perspective,
Yes,
and
you
I
do.
need you to mute up or lower the volume or move the phone slightly further from your mouth. It's way too loud. It's way too loud, Rosemary.
While you're doing that, if I could give a judge
No, I'm not finished
perspective.
talking
Now, hold
yet.
on,
This,
hold on.
let me.
Both
Can I?
of you,
Can I
so
finish my
go ahead.
statement? Let me finish
Go
my
ahead.
statement. So everybody has their own personal opinions, but the fact is, if there's anything flawed in that case, before, after, during, that execution should have never went down. Judge, you have the floor.
Okay, this is from a judge and a criminal defense lawyer. And as a criminal defense lawyer, I tried 42 first-degree murder cases where
Judge, I don't know what happened to you.
am I still on here?
Okay, you're still on.
Okay, I tried 42 first-degree murder cases, death penalty demanded. None of my former clients are on death row, and I did get the youngest person in the world on death row off in a stay of execution from the governor of Arkansas and their Supreme Court 23 minutes before they were going to execute him, and he was 15 years, 2 weeks old at the time. Now, let me say this. I said yesterday that it's an unusual situation wherein the prosecution was also asking for a stay of execution, not just the defense. What seems to have happened is there is DNA evidence that would tend to incriminate somebody else other than the defendant. But what I also said was the grounds that the defense is relying upon, the Batson case, which is unlawful exclusion of jurors based on race, is going to be a weak one because it's not apparent on the record. The district attorney admitted that he was in his heart violating Batson by excluding people because of race from the jury that did try the case. But as I pointed out, that's not going to get it. What has to happen is the discrimination has to be apparent from reading the record. And defense counsel, when it started going that way, should have made a motion, which would have usually been granted, for the prosecutor to be required to state on the record at the time his or her reasons for challenging the people who were subject to their preemptory challenges. What is a preemptory challenge? That means you have a certain limited number of challenges that you don't have to state ordinarily while you're exercising. You can just say, I don't like their looks, they're fidgeting, et cetera, et cetera. There are unlimited challenges for cause. In other words, the person says, I don't think I can be fair because something like this happened to me and I'll be too biased. In any event, the record did not appear to show on its face that there was racial discrimination in the selection of the jury. What the governor might have done is not issue a pardon, but simply a stay to let a higher court handle the matter. Now, there was no higher state court because the state Supreme Court had denied the request for the stay and the issue for appeal. Now, there might have been some relief on the federal level, but I said going ahead with the execution is most likely what was going to happen, even though this is one of those things where people should get their antenna up because something is wrong with this case, but it just fell between the cracks. Now I'll pass the mic on that.
Now, Danny, you did pose that question to me in all fairness. Can I answer it?
What question was that?
The death penalty one.
I don't think I posed the question, but I actually just made a statement to what you said, but go ahead.
Well, can I give some perspective? Now, there are not more death penalty cases in America versus murders. Okay, there are more murders committed in America than death penalty cases. That's first and foremost. The reality is, it's like they used to say in the Old West, kill them all, let God sort them out. You know, as a Christian nation, we can't afford, okay, to get caught up in the merits of it, how it makes us feel and how it sounds. We have to be concerned about, well, cleaning up our streets, making this nation safer, and giving it to God. If we feel some kind of way about it,
Judge,
just
can
give it
you
to God and
put
let
yourself
God
on mute? Put yourself on mute, Judge, please.
and let God
I have
sort
to
it out,
walk back
okay?
to the
But
phone. Go ahead.
are people questioning whether or not murderers ever get it right? Did they kill the right person? No. So why should we care when one of these murderous thugs gets taken out the game? That's my perspective on it,
Well,
really.
ma'am, the problem is it might be the wrong murderous thug.
That is true, but also understand, do murderers ever kill the right person?
No, I have had at least 2 juries come back when I was a judge. Judge, we have a question during the deliberations, and the question was, in both instances, identical. Quote, Your Honor, if we feel that the victim deserved killing, do we have to convict the defendant? And that was 2 separate trials. So it does happen. But now the death penalty, we associate it with somebody murdering somebody, but it hasn't always been that way. I did a brief that was 12,400 and I think it was 12,842 pages. It was a compendium on the death penalty, and the Arkansas Supreme Court read it. They told me they were impressed, and they unanimously reversed my client's conviction. But when it comes to the death penalty, the youngest person executed in the 20th century was a 10-year-old girl in Arkansas for shoplifting 14 cents worth of merchandise in 1934. She was arrested on Saturday, they tried her on Monday, and they hung her on Wednesday. Now, that gets a little problematical, and I have seen some cases, and in a time or two, I've presided over an instance where, well, on more than one occasion, where the prosecution, looking back on some stuff that occurred in the past, joined in a defense motion with new appointed counsel to set the conviction aside. Now, see, it's not just the defendant that is impacted. It's not just the families, it's the jurors and other people, and sometimes the prosecution. It's amazing to me that as I look back on my half-century career and all of the murder cases I was involved in, quite often, and I'd say 3/4 of the time, when the jury came back with a death penalty decision, they were crying. And you'd get jurors calling you up 2, 3, 4, 6 months, a year, 2 years after, when they had voted during deliberations for the death penalty, and they were talking about they couldn't sleep because they had these horrible feelings and these nightmares and guilt trips about did they do the right thing. So when you have a situation like this, you have some people, including prosecutors, who may be feeling nervous about it, Their consciences are bothering them. They are tossing and turning at night when they get visited by the ghost that will soon be lurking about. And you have to consider these things. But anyway, it is what it is.
Well, I guess if you're going to be a nation of law and order, you have to be willing to take a stand on these tough issues. Like Trump says, he wants to put drug dealers to death. And
I don't think that
again,
was his.
whether you
I don't
agree
think
or
that was
not,
his exact words.
more people die at the hands of drug dealers than
Well,
Trump will
actually,
put
so
to death
if
by his
right,
policy.
but if we're
So
gonna go down that route, and please mute up, and I'm gonna come to you, New Party, next. If we're gonna go down that route, don't look to throw a corner boy on the death row table, execution table. You need to put those cartels on the execution block. You also need to put some government officials on the execution block. So if you want drug dealers to be, put on death row, then you need to go high up that food chain. And if you're not going to do that, then don't say that, because though they're the drug dealers. That's how the drugs get onto the streets. So these are people that wear suits. These are not people that wear saggy pants. So if you're going to go after them, then look to your right and look to your left in Congress. Look to your right, look to your left when we're talking about Homeland Security, when we're talking about the CIA. Look, when we're talking about these drug cartels in other countries that control that government. So that rabbit hole, you're going to be putting a lot of high profile people on death row. And getting back to my original stance on it, which is why I am against it, because it's not fairly executed, for lack of a better words. I want to get to the New Party. Judge, can you please mute?
Okay.
Because we can hear everything you're doing, so just mute up and unmute when you're talking. Go ahead, New
That
Party.
that was the dog.
I think what I struggle with on this is, for me, I have torn feelings on the death penalty. I think it has to be without a shadow of a doubt that the person did it for it to be the death penalty. Like, there was an eyewitness, like the DNA matched up. And I think the difference with this case is there was a dispute on if the DNA was even his, and it wasn't proper. Like, from what I'm understanding, the investigation wasn't properly done, so the evidence wasn't properly taken at the time. So there was like a question on if the DNA evidence was even his. So I don't agree with what Queen said. I mean, I get what you're saying about murders needing to get taken off the street, but the problem is, are we taking the right ones off? And now we just killed a man. I don't know if I can't say if he was innocent or not tonight, because I don't know much on the case, but it sounds like he was one of many that, yes, he may have been a criminal, but was he guilty of this? No. So I think that's what I struggle with the death penalty. But switching gears a little bit here, Dane, I know she's not your favorite person, but Candace Owens came out today with evidence regarding Kamala Harris's race, and I would love to get the judge's perspective and if he's seen it.
Well, real quick, before the judge speak, New Party, or should I say New Party? Yeah, I say the New Party because it's the podcast, the New Party. Go follow the New Party. Candace Owens, she's not enlightening anybody. She didn't drop a bombshell. She's not shedding light on anything, because everything she said in her video, the judge already said. And we talked about this on the show last night, to where they listen to my channel when me and the judge is on, mainstream media and other content creators such as the Candace Owens, and they take what he says, do a little bit of research, and then they put it out as their own content. She is not an innovator. She is not breaking down barriers. Now, does she have great diction? Yes. Does she know how to present a story very well? Absolutely.
Yes.
So she didn't. That was already established. I seen that video. I seen the video. And it's like, girl, you showing up late to the party, but your followers don't know that because she has over 2 million followers. She's popping, but she
Absolutely.
is not a scholar.
No. And and I know Judge has already put that out there, but I'm just saying now she laid it out in a visual perspective, and now she's showing like the photos of it. And I mean,
What photos of her and the dad?
no, she showed evidence today that the lady, like, you know, the lady that Kamala posts as her grandma, that there's no way that could have been her because she died in 1960.
Whatever. I mean, Candace Owens says she's a journalist, so research. There are research journalists that you're supposed to do your research, but maybe, you know, her pulling pictures that maybe the media hasn't seen yet or people on social media hasn't posted, that's fine, but she ain't saying nothing new because majority of everybody already don't believe Kamala is black. And this is not me hating on Candace. I just think my stance with Candace Owens is, you know, she talked a lot of shit in the past, particularly about black people, and she was paid to do it. And that's why she did it. And those same people that booted her ass out, right? Now she wants to come back on the black side.
Right.
But at the same time, she thinks that everything she says is accurate and right. And it's not, because I've listened to a couple of things when she's interviewing, let's just say, other black people or black people, right? And they're not well up to date. And I hear her try to make an argument on certain things. For example, when she had Mark Lamont Hill, when she had another podcast, she was interviewing people one-on-one, was Mark Lamont Hill. And they was talking about the race riots like in the 60s, because it was in Newark, it was in Watts, it was in Detroit. And she was like, the people of Detroit, they burnt their own city down. Why? Because they were angry. And it's like, no, they wasn't just burning the shit down to be burning it down. You're talking about people who were unemployed. So if you go back in history, any point of time in history, the most poignant one is the French Revolution, to where the people rised up against those in charge because you are actually starving out the people. So when you starve out the people, you are going to have a uprising. And that's what happened. But she tried to make it seem like, as usual, because she was under the thumb of those type of white folk who were not Zionists. No, some of them probably were at the time, but now she can't stand them. But she always tried to make it seem like particularly black men and black boys were idiot thugs. So,
we don't worship her. I just want to let you know we've critiqued her. My theory on Candace Owens is she's doing this whole anti-Jewish thing right now because she's angry at her old boss, and it's personal. It's not because she's doing it to expose it. So I just want to be clear. I think that she panders. I think that she's doing this. She's a grifter at best. But I will say, the visual perspective that she laid out today to me, and I know Judge said it first, but seeing the pictures and seeing the evidence, not just speaking it, to me, it was like, wow, like, is this finally going to be Judge said it. Now she said it. What is it going to take for people to realize that she's transracial at best? Like, I'll even say it, and I'm biracial.
Right. Listen, there are people who probably do believe it, but they are so pro Kamala, they don't care. They're going to go with the lie, or they believe the lie. A lot of people believe what is not true, even if you throw it in their face. And that's a lot of Americans. So, and that's on both sides of the aisle, which is kind of spooky and scary. But it was something else that I wanted to
if I might interject something very briefly, I'm well aware of what you're talking about, ma'am. Those pictures were actually in a Jamaican publication some years ago, and they accompanied an article that Mr. or Professor Harris published himself, or rather wrote himself. It wasn't an interview. It would be construed today as very negative to Kamala Harris. Now, what also is going on is that stuff was available through Google about 10, 11 years ago, 7 years ago, but it's not there now. They've taken it down. And when you Google stuff, look carefully through the page you're on. end the page, start all over again with the same entry and see if you don't get a different page. And you will find strange notes out. This has been adjusted in the last 24 hours. This was adjusted 2 days ago, or this was modified 4 days ago, or the latest update is in controversy, et cetera, but those pictures are real. And Kamala Harris, Imhoff, Mrs. Imhoff, is not prone to the truth. She's the type of prosecutor that you have to, if you're the judge and you're a good judge, you have to put in check, because they bend corners, and you have to say a counsel approach. Where did you get that? What are you talking about? You know that is an exaggeration. Now, if you make that statement that you're going to prove it and you don't, the court will dismiss these charges. And that's one of the remedies you have, and you shut them up and get them back into being legit, rather than just bending the rules and trying to win at all costs, because a lot of them get corrupted. And out of the classification of people, I think one of the worst and most corrupted you can ever find are career prosecutors. They are horrible. They have been left by the rest of the world, and they don't care what they do. They just want to win, because they are looking at what they've done as an exercise in futility. Their careers have gotten nowhere. And it's a real live mess. And she fits all the profiles for that. She's a prolific liar. And what you see is to be expected. If you see the type, you recognize it. Once you recognize it, you never forget it. And by the way, that colors my reaction to damn near everything that woman does. It's just fake, 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 lie, 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 exaggeration, mistruth, and bending the truth. So what the woman, what's her name, Candace Owens, is that it, who we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw what she posted, but that's been out there on X from years ago. I'm familiar with it. I've seen it. I've read it. It's hard to find now. And maybe she's got a crew who got it together, or somebody went to Jamaica and came back with one of the magazines that published this some years ago. By the way, there's an interesting thing too. He published quite a bit, and I find it interesting that a few years ago it was accurate, and then you'd read it again, look it back up, and it'd say this has been modified, and somebody has edited what's going on, and it's not saying what he said.
Yeah,
But
and I will
fact
tell
of the
you,
matter-
Judge, you can't find anything critical of her online. We did a
you can't.
documentary on her, and we couldn't find anything. We like basically had to go like word of mouth, reading old Twitter posts to even know, like, reference the stuff we knew what we were talking about.
Yeah. And then the thing that gets me is, look at that real fact check that the moderators didn't even touch her on. There are no American troops in a war zone today as we speak. And then you see it on X, you see her on TV, and then the guys turn the cell phone around and say, well, what a FOE then? And they're on the front line in a forward base. And she's lying through her teeth, and nobody fact checked her. Why are they so dead set on supporting her? And the point that I've been making is there is a very good reason why they are doing what they do, and why she can get away with doing what she has done. And it's because they're trying to spread this LGBTQIA cult. I'm not downing gay folk because a lot of them get jacked around by this cult. Transsexuals, you know, I mean, if somebody's gay or lesbian, she doesn't want a fake girl. If somebody is gay, they may remember when some pedophile turned them out. They don't want to be associated with pedophilia. A lot of them are just as decent as anybody else. Leave sex and what you do getting your freak on in the bedroom. Don't put it out in the public place. Hell, even what they accusing Diddy of. They kept it as semi-private until it hit the fan because somebody stuck his nose in it. They weren't putting that out. You know, it's just wrong to start sexualizing children and making everybody's sex life, whatever it may be, a freak show that people have to put out there like it's some kind of burlesque or it's adult entertainment or something. Now, see, they are trying to impose this. And if you want to see what you're looking at, go back and read up on what the major monotheistic religions did to impose themselves when they first got started. And look at the Crusades, look at Torquemada, the Inquisition, look at burning witches at the stake, look at the 100 Years' War of religion in Europe, look at the 40-some years they fought where the Catholics and Protestants were trying to kill each other. Look at what's going on in the Middle East between the Israelis and the Arabs. It's been going on for the last 75, 80 years. Look at that. And you'll see that, you know, it's not a matter of bipartisanship. You're either blaspheming against somebody, something or another, or you are a heretic. And it's by any means necessary, because remember, you're trying to save somebody. But in this case, the unusual thing is it is no longer trying to impose morality and ethics. It's trying to sit there and destroy them. Remember the mantra, no guilt, no shame. Do anything you want. You have no constraints. Just get whatever you feel like doing, get it on, and forget everybody else. No character. That's why all this stuff has gone to hell in the streets. Nobody's got a purpose or a cause anymore. And these clowns have been trying to teach this for the last 50 years. And now they got what they wanted, and it's going to hell. And the main thing they're trying to do is make it worse.